Hey, everybody. I wanted to talk today about Terra-Luna and the problem that these algorithmic stablecoins, including Terra-Luna, have, why they could all go to zero. And I don't know. I'm pretty skeptical of it. I'm not a buyer right now. So let me get into it. Yesterday, May 9th, was that huge Bitcoin drop off. All right. And I'm going to take a second now to talk about how Terra Luna works and what it does. So, Terra Luna is an algorithmic stablecoin. Now, these algorithmic stablecoins work through this weird arbitrage method. So, basically, I'm going to read this right here. In the Terra Luna ecosystem, users can always swap the Luna token for UST and vice versa at a guaranteed price of $1 regardless of the market price of either token at the time. This is an important note because it means if the demand for UST rises and its price rises above $1, Luna holders can bank a risk-free profit by swapping $1 of Luna to create one UST token, which, due to a rise in demand in this example, is worth more than $1. So, and vice versa, if you were at that above $1 premium on your stablecoin Luna dollar, you'd be incentivized to then switch that back into Luna. During the swapping process, a percentage of Luna is burned, permanently removed from the circulation, and a remainder is deposited into the common treasury. Funds in the treasury are then used to invest in applications and services that expand the utility of the Terra ecosystem. Burning a percentage of the Luna tokens reduces the number of overall tokens left in circulation, making them more scarce and therefore more valuable. By minting more UST tokens, it is an effect of diluting existing tokens in circulation. So basically, Luna, there's supposed to be the same amount of Terra as there is Terra USD. The Terra Luna, so Terra Luna, this coin is supposed to back up this coin, the Terra USD, which is supposed to be a stable coin, at a 1-to-1 ratio. As you can see right now, it doesn't. Terra USD is at 90 cents, and it was at its lowest, according to this chart, down at 68 cents. I think it was even lower. And part of the problem, this is where these algorithmic stablecoins really run into the issue. And so they have this awesome setup in theory where, like, you go and you take that one Luna and you buy that UST, that stable coin with that one Luna, and you get that risk-free profit from that stable coin that went above $1, and you put it into the Luna, and then you put it back into the other dollar, or the stable coin when it drops below, and you get that risk-free profit. Now, that's all fine and good until you have Bitcoin do something like this, and then all of a sudden these altcoins, which are correlated extremely heavy to Bitcoin, also dump with Bitcoin. And then on top of that, everyone wants to dump their altcoin into a stable coin. And if you're dumping your altcoin into a stable coin like Luna, that's an algorithmically traded one, the demand for the Luna token is dropping because because of the Bitcoin dump. And then on top of that, the demand for the UST, the Terra stablecoin, is increasing at the same time. So you have Luna being sold off and UST being bought. Now, it sounds like it would work out just fine. If you were selling your if it was a closed system and you were just selling your Luna for UST, that wouldn't be a problem. But it's not. So people are selling their Luna buying something like USDT, totally different or stablecoin, pulling that money out of the Luna system at the same time as there's a whole bunch of other people going in and buying UST. So that one-to-one backing that you're supposed to have is being broken because the amount of liquidity is being thrown in and out of the Luna system because of all the other cryptocurrencies around it. Now, in order to combat that, they have been buying Bitcoin. So Luna was holding about $3.5 billion of Bitcoin prior to this big crash. Now, the problem is, this was as of May 9th that they were holding all of this Bitcoin. This article was published on May 5th. So Luna Foundation Guard further bolsters stablecoin reserve by raising $1.5 billion in Bitcoin. So let's just say they bought that on May 5th. All right. And anytime they buy that on May 5th, the price of Bitcoin on May 5th was at a minimum of about $35,000. And now that whole dump off happened and it went all the way down to about $30,000. And when you get all the way down to $30,000, see, this is when the demand for UST is stressed the most. And this is when Luna is being sold off the most. And its reserve asset that they're supposed to, that they ended up selling off. Here's another article. They ended up selling off $750 million worth of that Bitcoin to buy Luna in order to back up the Terra USD price. So let me just go down in this. So they sold $750 million of their $350 billion worth of Bitcoin in order to protect the UST peg. And in some sense they have, because it's a lot closer to a dollar at 90 cents than it was at 60 cents. But I don't know about you. I want my stable coin to actually be at a dollar, not 90 cents. That's beside the point. Let me continue. So they described this action as a loan to over-the-counter trading firms in order to protect the UST peg. Said that they would eventually loan another $750 million of UST back to buy the sold Bitcoin when the market conditions normalize. Now, I cannot even explain how crazy you would have to be as an over-the-counter trading firm, how much risk you're taking on if you're doing this. Like, unless you're telling them that they have to lock up a certain amount of their Bitcoin to cover this in case they can't pay it back, you're nuts. So you're buying you're okay. So you're the Luna Foundation. This is I'm gonna bring it all together here. You're the Luna Foundation. You're buying Bitcoin at 35K all the way up. I'm pretty sure they were buying as high as around 40K. You're buying Bitcoin high, and then when Bitcoin dumps, you're selling Bitcoin low in order to protect your stable coin peg. So you're buying your Bitcoin high and you're selling your Bitcoin low in order to pump that capital back into your stable coin to protect the one-to-one peg. And then on top of that, you're selling this Bitcoin to an over-the-counter trading firm to protect the UST peg, and you're telling this over-the-counter trading firm, it's okay, I'm gonna level this whole thing out, and then I'm gonna buy back my Bitcoin with the UST that I sold the Bitcoin in order to protect the peg of. Do you kind of see what I'm saying? Do you see how crazy this whole thing is? They're saying they're gonna loan another $750 million of UST to buy back the Bitcoin they sold in order to protect the price of the UST that tanked. So they're gonna pump create more UST to buy back the Bitcoin they sold in order to protect the price of the UST that crashed because Bitcoin got sold. This is like pretzel logic here. Absolutely insane. So how, if you're this over-the-counter trading firm, I don't understand how you can justify doing this unless you're making them put certain amount of that other part of that $3.5 billion in Bitcoin into some type of escrow, and make them hold that as other collateral. But what I'm saying is, like, if Luna had a lot of trouble, it still hasn't recovered this peg after a Bitcoin dump of 12% in a day. Over the week, let's see what it is. From the 4th of May all the way down to today, 25% dump. So Bitcoin, Luna could barely survive this 25% dump from 40K all the way down to 30K. And now it looks like we're here. We're extremely bearish. Another dump down to something like this, another 14% dump to 25K is not something that's off the table. That's really not crazy at all. So now what is Luna going to do if it dumps back down to 25K? They're going to have to there's going to be the panic in the altcoin market. So things like Terra-Luna are going to get sold off like crazy. So it's going to dump another at least 20% to be in line with all these other altcoins, maybe even more. So this Terra-Luna coin dumps from $31 down to 15 at the same time as the UST demand skyrockets and everyone's either maybe they're converting their see that's the thing too. This coin is with the assumption that people are going to be buying it after these dips. Maybe everyone's taking their money out of this as well because they don't trust it. So they're going to be selling their Luna, buying UST, or selling their Luna, buying USDT, and this whole thing is going to get depegged again. And then now they're going to have to take that Bitcoin that they bought up here from 35 to 40K that's now at a loss of let's say they bought it at average buy price 36K, being nice right here. 36K. Now they're selling their Bitcoin. Let's say we drop down to 26.5. Now they're selling their Bitcoin at a 30% loss almost to ensure that UST peg to Luna. At the same time, if we dump down to this level, last time Bitcoin dumped to a level like this, it didn't just like rebound right back up immediately. Normally Bitcoin hangs out in a level like this and the altcoins just dump and dump and dump and dump. The altcoins sell off like mad. I don't see why Luna would be any different in this situation. So you get this huge dump here. So this is that first Bitcoin dump. You get this consolidation thing. Luna's bleeding the whole time. That stablecoin peg is struggling to stay there, and they're having to sell off some of their Bitcoin reserves in order to cover the peg. And then you get this massive dump here, and they have to sell off even more of their Bitcoin reserve in order to ensure that UST peg. And then it trades around here even longer, and Luna bleeds even more, and they need to pump even more into that UST peg. I just don't see how the Luna Foundation has enough liquidity to survive something like this whole time. Because before this major dump here that we had yesterday, altcoins, Luna outpacing all of them, were still holding strong. Now that we're down here, I think all of those bets are off. So these algorithmic stablecoins really, really, really show their issues when they are needed most and tested most on days like yesterday. Is it going to succeed? Is it going to go down to the zero? I don't know. I have no idea. I can't tell you. Maybe they'll pull through. Maybe they'll survive. I can say the longer that it does survive and the more liquidity that they have in the reserves, theoretically, the less risky the Luna token is as a whole. But who knows? Maybe not. I could be totally wrong about that too, because you get a price rise of Bitcoin. Say their Bitcoin treasury now is they bought it at 35, goes up to 70 or something, and then it dumps all the way down to 30, and then there's that whole problem with the UST, USDT, or what is it? That Terra-Luna UST peg problem again, where everyone's buying and selling it, converting it into other cryptos. They got to sell who knows how much of that Bitcoin in order to cover it when it drops down to 40K. And then maybe there's way more volume into Luna than they expected, and it just dries up their treasury, and it could be no more. Point is, I mean, it only takes, they only have to run out of cash one time for the whole thing to blow up. There only has to be one time where someone is trying to redeem their USDT or their UST for actual USDT or some other crypto, and they just don't have the actual capital behind it to back it up for the whole thing to blow up. Um, I hope that was a thought-provoking video. If you have any questions, the thing that caused this whole crash in the first place was the Federal Reserve actually raising interest rates, and I made a video explaining that and some of the problems that come along with that and some of the implications of that. I also made another video talking about QE and how they're starting to sell off some of their uh, bonds that they've bought over the last few years in order to help keep those interest rates pinned down around zero. All of these things are linked together. I highly recommend you check out those other videos. They're going to be linked somewhere around up here right now, and I'll put them earlier in the video too. If you want to zoom back, maybe click down on them already. But that is all I got for you today. Markets are crazy right now. Who knows what's going to happen? I think everything's going to sell off even more. I'm curious to see how much Luna can actually take. I really am. I'm going to be watching this closely, and it's going to be fascinating to see what happens because this is really the most successful of those algorithmic stablecoins out there. Have a great day, guys. As always, I will see you soon.